Do you ever feel like you're a different version of yourself depending on who you're around? Like you're constantly adjusting or filtering, softening or shrinking yourself depending on who you're with? Hi, I'm Scarlett Classic, and welcome to Classic Advice, a mental health podcast offering guidance for resilient souls, anchoring calm amid the chaos. Do you say yes when you mean to say no? Or just maybe agreeing with people when you don't actually agree with them? Everything that I just described is forms of people pleasing. And I realize that I have talked about it a lot on here, but I've had quite a few conversations with people about this subject. And I see it day in and day out. People being different around other people just because they don't want to, I guess, stand up for what, just because they want to please people around them. Then they don't want to, maybe they don't want to argue, or maybe they think that maybe disagreeing makes them feel wrong? I'm not sure. I think people pleasing can possibly stem from different things, because I've seen it in a few different forms, like shrinking yourself because you think or you've been told that you're too much. So you shrink yourself around others and you're not yourself, and that is a form of people pleasing. Not saying no when you really need to say no because you don't want to disappoint people. I think I've just realized this past few days when I was thinking about an episode for here that a lot of people do this, and I'm no exception. I think I still probably do it to some degree. I try very hard not to. But I used to be a huge people pleaser. And if you've listened to this podcast for a while, then you know a little bit of my backstory, but it really can have a big grip on us, and it can control us. And when we stop people pleasing and really just lean into who we are and stop caring about what people are going to think about us, or if people are going to like us or not. I've been thinking about this a lot, and I think for myself, where it stemmed for me is because I felt like I never really fit in, and I wanted to fit in. So for me, people pleasing and saying yes when I wanted to say no, really shrinking myself, softening myself, because how I am just normal, me, when I really lean into who I am, has been told that I'm too much, that I feel like I just don't fit in, that I'm not wanted to be in the group, that I'm this outsider, outcast. So I leaned into people pleasing as my way of trying to gain that approval, I guess, I think. But and that's the thing, is it doesn't just affect our decisions, because I wasn't always that way. When I was little, I wasn't that way. I think it turned into this when I was kind of in high school and then young adult. that's when I really started people pleasing, because when I reflect on who I was before, I wasn't that way. So when I really think about it, I think it started out as this very slow process that just spun way out of control. And it started out with little decisions here and there. Every now and then saying yes when I really wanted to say no, or changing or softening myself a little bit, and then getting a good response from that. So then leaned into that harder and leaned into it harder and harder, until I shrank myself and softened myself so much that it totally rewrote who I was. And when I stopped people pleasing, and I never really knew how to do this, but I came to the point where I realized that I had lost myself, and I wanted to find myself again. And that's when I started to stop caring about what people thought. And if they were going to not like me, then whatever, because it seemed like they didn't like me anyways. So I might as well just be myself. And I was right. The right people will love you. Maybe you haven't found your people yet, but the right people will. Because I didn't lose myself all at once. It was gradual. One yes, when I really wanted to say no, at a time. And it's people pleasing. It's not just being kind or thoughtful, because it's, at least for me, I think it was really rooted in fear. Fear of not being liked. Fear of rejection. Fear of conflict with others, not wanting to argue. Fear of disappointing people and just not being accepted, that outcast, not fitting in. So I adapted, and little by little by little, I changed. And I tried to become what I thought people wanted me to be. And we see it working. It probably works for a little while, but then it stops working. And we get really confused because we think we're being really thoughtful and really nice. And I just want to be nice is something that ran through my head so many times. I'm just trying to be nice. I don't understand why people don't like it. I was trying too hard. I was trying too hard. And I can see it now. Now that I stopped people pleasing for the most part, because I can see it in others now. And when people try too hard, I don't know, it's so obvious to me now that they're trying way too hard. And if they just, were themselves, as opposed to doing that, or not agreeing with people when they really don't. Because I've seen people where I'll have a conversation with them and they give me an opinion, and then I'll hear them talking to somebody else about the same subject, and the other person has the opposite point of view, and then they agree. They don't speak up and give their opinion. They just agree. And it got me thinking that avoiding conflict is a form of people pleasing too. and not speaking up and not sharing our opinions. You know, I don't know if this is just that intense fear of not wanting to have a disagreement, or having that view of a discussion or a debate is something to be avoided. But I like it when people have different views from me, because maybe I'll learn something. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I need to shift my own perspective. And we can have healthy debates with people without ruining a friendship or a relationship. We just need to learn how to do that in a healthy way. You know, attack the problem, not the person. But when we're people pleasing, at the beginning of that snowball, when we feel like it's working, you know, people like you, things are smooth, and you avoid that tension. But underneath, you don't like it. Underneath, I didn't like it. I couldn't necessarily see it, but in my gut, I knew. When your personality becomes a strategy for approval, you stop living for you, and you start performing like you're acting on stage. And I actually did quite a few plays, so I like that analogy. It's like going out on stage and you become that other person. You become that character that you're in, and you feed the lines that fit your character. But it's not you. It's not you. It's just a character that you're playing. That mask of people pleasing. And it can lead to this loss of identity, which is what happened to me, which is why I wanted to bring it up again on the show, because I just see how important it is that we understand this and that we see it. And if this is you and you know you're a heavy people pleaser, because what I've been saying either resonates or people have told you. Lots of people used to tell me, you're such a big people pleaser. Why do you do that? Stop. I didn't know how. I'd just be nice. And I think we don't know how to stop, or I didn't know how to stop, because it was such a gradual shift. Such a gradual shift and loss of myself, because it didn't happen overnight. This had to be over a span of years. And I lost myself. I ignored my preferences. I silenced my opinions. You know, I went against my better, instinct and judgment, until one day I specifically remember I was at the barn with the horses, just hanging out with the horses. And it just dawned on me that day that I didn't even like me anymore. I didn't even like to look in the mirror anymore. I didn't like what I saw. I didn't like, who was I? I completely lost who I was. And I got so sad. I cried and cried and cried. I was heartbroken because I came to that realization that I had lost myself. And I didn't know how to get myself back. And that was one of the hardest points of my life. One of my low lows. Because now when it becomes your identity, it's not just about, just set some boundaries and you'll be okay. It's way more than that. It's finding yourself again, and it can be a very difficult thing to do. No, and it's exhausting to pretend to be someone you're not. I think that's why I had that little, I don't want to call it a breakdown. It was more of a breakthrough because it dawned on me that what I was doing, and I didn't really know how to stop, but I knew I had to. I knew I had to change because I was so tired. I was beyond tired. I was just wiped. I had a lot of resentment towards myself and frustration and regret and guilt and confusion. Like, why am I this way? And how can I get out of this hole that I dug myself into? But, those feelings are to be expected. And now looking back, I look back on that moment as I'm kind of grateful for it in a way, because it was a big turning point for me. When we finally realize what we are doing, and it dawns on us that, oh my goodness, yeah, I am a heavy people pleaser, and I see it now, and I see why people don't like it. I am trying way too hard, and I'm pretending to be someone I'm not, and it's obvious. When we hit that rock bottom, and we realize that we don't want to do it anymore, it doesn't mean that that fear is necessarily going to go away. I think one of my still to this day heavy fears is that I won't fit in, and that I won't be liked, and I won't be loved. But since I have stopped that people pleasing for the most part, I have found that I really do fit in, and I am loved. And when people don't like me, I don't let it bother me, because I have many other people that do. And learning to be okay that not everybody is going to like you, and that's normal. That's okay. But when we find ourselves again, little by little, and slowly make that journey back to us, we fall in love with ourselves again, and we can love ourselves again. Because I don't think I really truly loved myself a whole lot during that phase. But now I can say that I really do. And that's really, really, really important for our mental health, that we love ourselves truly, that we stay true to our compass, to our integrity, to our honor line, to our values and our beliefs. And when we please ourselves, that radiates. Because when we can truly love ourselves, then we can give that love to other people in a wholesome, good way, not in a awkward, trying too hard way. Because everything just feels lighter and calmer and more honest when we're honest with other people and with ourselves. And that peace that comes with when you stop trying to manage other people's opinions. When you stop trying so hard to be liked and loved and wanted. The right people, they won't like the fake version. but they will fall in love with the version of you that is real. And when we build that self-esteem from within, when we stay true to our compass, and we build that self-trust up, because we really lean into ourselves, and trusting that we will be okay when we stop people pleasing, when we stop trying so hard, when we start saying no, and we put our own needs first and desires and whatnot, when we say no when we really need to, it's going to feel weird. It's going to feel uncomfortable because it's not something that we're used to. And that's okay. That's to be expected. And starting to speak up when something doesn't feel right, and voicing your opinions, voicing your different opinion, that you don't have to just agree with everyone. Choosing yourself even when it feels a little uncomfortable at the start. And you might even feel a little guilty. And, I think I still hang on to that guilt. I'll say the no, but I'll feel guilty after. Because I'm still trying to fight that urge, And you might question yourself, and that's okay. You're learning to, when we decide to stop people pleasing, we're learning something new, and we're changing a bad habit. And we're pivoting and learning a new one. And to find ourselves again. And confidence will come through. You will gain a lot more confidence because you're then living for yourself as opposed to for other people. Because it's not about being liked, it's about being aligned with your values and beliefs. Have you been people pleasing? Please don't feel like there's anything wrong with you. I understand because I've been there. But I hope that this episode will give you hope that there is the other side, and it's a lot greener over there. In this case, the grass is greener on the other side when you stop. And you can. It is possible. It's a learning curve, but it's possible. And I think, I can say for sure that I am a lot more happier now than I ever was trying to pretend to be someone I wasn't. Now, if you're people pleasing, there is hope. You can stop. You don't have to stay there. You're allowed to have your boundaries and your opinions, and you can disappoint people, and that's okay. They can be disappointed. You're disappointed sometimes too. But be fully yourself. Because at the end of the day, being liked by everyone will never feel as good as being liked by yourself. And looking in the mirror and liking you. And loving you. And being proud of you for holding on to your integrity. And your opinions and your beliefs. And staying true to you. So I would encourage you to stop shrinking yourself if you are, to fit into places that maybe you've outgrown. Thank you for tuning in to Classic Advice, guidance for resilient souls. May you stay anchored in what steadies you, Rise resilient through what challenges you and carry calm in whatever comes next. Take care. Love ya. Bye.